to the RunRX podcast, where we talk about all things running. As many runners know, it's 90% mental. So join Coach Valerie and Coach Caroline as we go through the mental side of running. Welcome back to Tough Love Tuesdays. I'm your host, Coach Caroline. And today I want to talk about doing something new and doing something that challenges you or scares you a little bit. They say that part of how we grow or how we stay young is by challenging our thoughts, challenging our ways of learning things. They say one of the best ways to stave off dementia and Alzheimer's is by learning an instrument, because it opens up the neural pathways in your brain and helps you to reconnect and to grow in your brain cells. So I want to bring that into this idea of learning how to run and learning a new technique. Maybe you don't believe that there is a correct way to run. And I completely understand that. I don't agree with it. I just completely understand it. That's how we've been taught. But let's take something else. Let's take something like going to the gym, learning strength training. This is something I had always wanted to do. I had always wanted to lift heavy to see how much my body could evolve and be stronger, right? That was something I wanted to do when I was very young in my 20s, never did. I started it a little bit in my 40s, and now here I am in my 50s, actually lifting weight, actually going to a gym. When CrossFit first came out, I believe I was in Phoenix. It was about 2009, 2010 when I first started hearing about it, and it scared me to death. Looking at the pictures of the Olympic lifting and the big weights, I just immediately put up a block and thought, as fun, as exciting as it seems, that's not for me. So fast forward about 8 years, I meet Valerie, and she had owned a CrossFit gym, and she does CrossFit workouts, that she opened me up to it and opened me up to the idea of a standard of movement. We never realized when we were learning in gym that we were learning a standard of movement. We were learning how to do a squat. We were learning how to do a sit-up. We were learning how to do push-ups. There is a standard of movement in everything we do. There's a standard of movement in running. So bringing it back to that challenge, I was listening recently to a podcaster who had talked about that she was going to try to start going to a CrossFit gym with her husband. And she was getting back into working out. She had been more active before her children were born, so now they were a little bit older, and she was able to start working out again. And she had missed her workout, and her fans on the podcast had wanted to hear, what did she think? Was it exciting? Did she enjoy it? I'm sure she had some fans that do CrossFit, maybe some fans that want to do CrossFit. And so she explained that she didn't get to do it, and there was a part of her that was really glad she didn't get to do it. She's like, oh, that's not a big deal that life got in the way and I didn't have to go to CrossFit. But then she realized that she was doing herself a disservice if she wasn't going to challenge her body and her thoughts around learning something new. And it really made me think about not only my CrossFit experience that I'm doing right now, and I shouldn't even call it CrossFit because it's really just about lifting heavy and learning standards of movements and realizing what my body is capable of. Valerie reminds me quite often that I'm stronger than I realize. I look at a big bar or I look at a big weight and I think, oh, if I put two of those big weights on, that's 20 pounds. I can't lift that. And she challenges me, yes, you can. You're stronger than that. You have the strength. You just need to awaken it, right? I want to challenge you if you're thinking about running pain-free, if you're thinking about joining the membership. Maybe you're in pain. Maybe you don't believe there's a correct way to run. And I'm going to challenge that thought process, because if there wasn't a correct way to run, how are we able to help people that have been in pain for years, that maybe were set to do surgery, and then they work with us, they open up, they become, and I say open up their minds, they become coachable, they really practice, and they no longer have pain when they run. They're running with real joy. That wouldn't happen if there wasn't a correct way to run, if it didn't work. So the thought that, oh, that's not correct, is actually, I can I can give you data that it is correct, right? So the same goes for trying something new. Maybe just the idea of learning the correct movement to run is what your brain needs to wake back up and to add some youth, to add some creativity to your life. Because just like learning that new instrument, learning that new movement, and I mean that, you might think, well, but Caroline, I've been running for 20 years. You've been running incorrectly for 20 years. We now have to unlearn what we knew before and learn something brand new. And that's a totally new bunch of synapses firing in your brain. And that can really help bring out the creativity in your life. It can awaken a youthful opportunity in your brain. And at the same time, you'll learn to run pain free. I hope you'll join us. Thank you for joining us on the RunRX podcast. If you'd like to know more, join us at www.runrx.fit. And if you have additional questions that you'd like answered on the podcast, email us at support@runrx.fit.